I was inspired. I don't know if anybody read, I know one or two of you did, but I sent something from Bhante G, an article from Bhante G. He's I think he's 90 plus years old, and he lives in a forest monastery in West Virginia, and he is an incredibly sweet but ridiculously learned monk, and he wrote a book. He wrote many books. One of my favorite is called Mindfulness in Plain English. Mindfulness in Plain English. He's really big on making things really understandable, and that's my style. I like things simple. And he inspired me. I've been having difficulty with my own morning meditation. It's been hard for me to stay put. So he wrote, his question was, meditation, why bother? Meditation, why bother? Why bother doing it? It's so simple, but it's not easy. It takes time, it takes effort every day. It's it can be difficult. It's helpful, but it can be boring sometimes or unpleasant. So a lot of times, for me anyway, checking the emails or getting the to-do list for the day going seems easier. So why bother? If you're human, which I'm assuming everyone here is, you suffer. It's part of the package that we get, being put into this human body. We're inclined to be disillusioned and dissatisfied, tense, ill at ease, self-critical. It's the human condition. It's not your fault so much as to say. But it's suffering. And for example, maybe you remember the 5 remembrances prayer that we read a few times, which is a reminder that this human body is of a nature to grow old, to become sick, to die. Everything that we care about is going to be separated from us. So this fact alone is enough to make people tense, right? But we keep up a good front. And in a society like ours, where the society refuses to discuss this, it's hard to come to terms with. Our society, we prefer delusion over truth, I would argue. The problem is running away from reality doesn't take you where you want to go. It doesn't, that the truth is always just under the surface there. And that running, that mental running, that avoidance, that covering it up, that mental movement causes tension in us. It causes chronic physical tension and chronic mental discomfort. This not seeing things for what they are. Not seeing reality really kind of gets in the way of happiness. So, and I'll just add here, like, how not coming to terms with these kinds of bigger questions actually gets in the way of you having relationships that you want. Or it feeds, like this activity, this pushing away it kind of feeds habits that you want to overcome. It feeds the pain of our physical ailments. Then putting those big questions aside, these big existential, unexamined questions, right? We don't have a forum to process. There's these day-to-day annoyances that we have to contend with, like just the discomfort of life and people who've hurt us, just sometimes general boredom or maybe sometimes not feeling useful or not feeling heard, feeling helpless in the face of very, very big issues in the world. There's also the if only syndrome that we have to contend with, right? If only I didn't have this particular health problem, then I could be happy. If only I could get this house cleaned up, then I could relax. If only I could lose 20 pounds, then I would be attractive. So why bother meditating? Like, if only I could have these one or two things and I'd be okay. So why bother? Because it's not true, right? Maybe you do clean up the house and before you know it, something else arises, some other discomfort, because life is just full of them. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. And that's what the Buddha was pointing at. He's basically pointing to the fact that living in delusion, avoiding these things causes pain. But seeing clearly, seeing truthfully leads to happiness. Part of seeing truthfully and clearly is seeing that the essence of life is just change, unrelenting, constant change. Right? People come, people go. Even the ones we care about most. People are born, people die. Your stock market portfolio goes up and it goes down. The sun goes up, the sun goes down. So change is the constant. Change is the certainty. And yet, when you think about our culture, it's taught us the opposite. We've been schooled in the opposite habit of mind. If something's good, like we're supposed to hold on to it for dear life. Like we want it to stay that way forever. If something's bad, we reject it, we deny it, we fight it. And when life is neutral, most people get so bored that they jump to the other two energies, like running after things that they can cling to or running away from the difficult things. And I'll just point out here, it's normal to want good things to stay and to want bad things to go away. It's not that. That's okay. What matters is the kind of energy we bring to it. Right? It's okay to appreciate something good in our lives, to welcome it, to enjoy it. But most people don't actually enjoy when the good things are happening. Most people don't. When something good is happening, they're already like calculating how to keep it or how to get more of it. One example that comes to mind is we have friends in the restaurant business in DC. And so sometimes we get invited out to dinner with them, and it's wonderful. But what they really like to talk about when we're out to dinner is all the other restaurants they've been to and are going to soon. With the upshot that I've noticed that they're actually never quite with the meal that's in front of them. Right? And I feel like, we're having a good time, but there is a certain edge to it that's kind of tense. Similarly, it's okay to be upset when things go bad. That's normal. It helps you to think of ways to change your experience, right? But most people reject the bad experiences out of hand. They're like, no, this can't be happening, or no, I don't accept this. And as you know, that the first step, Buddha's first noble truth is knowing there is suffering, saying yes, saying this is bad, ouch, yeah. Skipping Buddha's step 1 is pretty much a guarantee that you get trapped in a cycle of resistance, mental resistance to whatever bad thing is happening. And that's worse. That's worse suffering. That's like basically, if you don't take that first step to sort of absorb and say, yeah, this is suffering right here. This is what it feels like. If you don't take that first step and you go immediately into fight mode, I think of it sometimes like you see a dead mouse on the floor and you lift up the carpet and you kick it under. Right? Instead of getting the appropriate things and picking it up and disposing of it. Like you have to touch it with your own hands before you can really have it leave, before you can really let it go. So this energy, this when we're grasping at the good things, not welcoming, but when we're grasping onto the good things, and when we're rejecting the bad things, when we're fighting them, and when we're ignoring all the neutral things in our life, when it's basically like being on a mental treadmill. The energy is like being on a mental treadmill. And we don't have access to the off switch. Like we can't get off. Like our minds are full of these opinions and likes and dislikes and criticisms, and it's like being on a treadmill. So, all this sounds, I apologize, it all sounds rather bleak, but it's not, it's only bleak from the common mental perspective. And certainly the one that our particular culture has instilled in us. Like there's a different way to look at our experiences, where the mind is not trying to freeze itself in time and attach itself to the good things. When the mind's not trying to block out or ignore the bad things. There's this different way of looking at things that kind of goes beyond the experience of good and bad. It goes kind of beyond just pleasure and pain. And one of the main doorways into this different way of looking at our experiences, one of the main doorways is through meditation. That little time that we take each day, doesn't need to be hours, that small amount of time when we meditate and we sit still and we watch and we see what's coming. Peace and happiness is really what I believe humans yearn for. Certainly those of us here, we yearn for peace and happiness. and we can have it. And part of that equation involves cultivating the mind through meditation. If you can get some control over your mind, you don't need to control your mind, but get some measure of control over it, you can more easily and quickly see your cycles of grasping and aversion, like you're like these energies that you get trapped with. You can more easily see them. You can more quickly step away from them when they start to torment you. So you can learn what you want. You can see what you want without being controlled by your wants. You can do what you need to do without being caught in an obsessive, compulsive, driving nature of the mind. You can, you can want what you want without chasing it, right? Or you can fear something. Healthy fear is very good without getting trapped in the cycles of anxiety. This is what meditation helps us do. And I'll just say, as hard as meditation may feel at times, it's not impossible. We do it here every week. Controlling the world around you is what's actually impossible. That's truly impossible. So why not do something that's certainly within our capacity if we apply some effort? I'll just say that, practicing meditation is a way to say yes to yourself over and over. You can say yes to your thoughts. You can say yes to your pain. You can say yes to your experience of the world. You can say yes to the whole thing because you're the only one who's listening in on a meditation, so it doesn't matter. And if you can say yes to those things inside of you, you're going to be okay. You're going to be much better, much, much sooner.